So if you're looking forward to the Final Fantasy VII Remake, you're gonna want to go ahead and just click out of this one, because you're not gonna hear anything that you're gonna like out of me, because I think this is the stupidest fucking shit ever that they're quote-unquote remaking Final Fantasy VII. It's literally the stupidest shit to me. It makes no sense on any level, and the way they're doing it is so fucking annoying and stupid. So, like, right away, the battle difficulty is the same as easy. Oh yeah, do you want a gameplay experience that's reminiscent of, you know, the game that they're claiming to be remaking? Ah, well fuck you, then it's easy mode, you easy piss baby. You wanna play Final Fantasy VII? Okay, easy mode for you. Go fuck yourself. That's great. So we're gonna do classic mode because, I just want to see how badly that's fucking implemented, first of all. This, compromise. Oh, here it is, everyone. Are you excited? Oh, wow, they even fucked that up. How do you fuck that up? Literally, the first moment this game starts and I'm already pissed off. Oh, it's so pretty though. Oh, but look, the graphics. That's the only reason we're remaking it, huh? Because you want to see something that was on the PS1, and you want to see it with prettier graphics? That's a reason to remake something, I guess. With worse cinematography. Better graphics, worse visuals. Like, what the fuck? By this point, we were already, like, at the title in the PS1 version. What is this? Remake. Line this up side by side with the original. It literally... Oh, we got Loveless, though. We got our Loveless, everyone. Gacked. Oh, but the graphics. Quote-unquote remake. But, like, for what reason? Because I'm talking about, like, it doesn't matter that the graphics look better if the visuals are implemented in a worse way. You know, like, I remember this when I saw the Halo 2 remake. I was like, oh, they completely changed the cinematography and the blocking of all the scenes. So, like, oh, it looks better. It looks better, like, graphically. But the visuals are worse, because the blocking is completely fucking different. And the camera angle and the cinematography and the direction, it's all different and worse. I don't understand this, like, weird thing where people are like, oh, I just want it's bigger polygons so it looks better. I can, oh.
Get down here, Merc.
Look at the textures. Why did you take your sword out, though? Look, look, the textures and the graphics look so much better. So it looks... No, I don't get that, and I never will, and it's dumb.
Who
Almost there.
So, like...
You're up.
Okay, so let's see how this is implemented here. So, literally just game journalist mode, actually, though. They're taking game journalist mode and dressing it up like, oh, this is just like how the original game was, remember? It's just like the original game, it's but no, it's not, because the original game didn't play itself. And it's the same as easy mode.
Nice and easy.
So it's literally just playing itself, though. Look, I didn't actually do anything. That's not classic. That's not evocative of the original game. That's just the game playing itself. That's not the same thing. Oh, he doesn't have the potion on him. No? I thought it'd be nice if there was like a little pickup item.
Who in the hell?
Who?
Hands where I can see them.
Yeah, don't help or anything.
Have fun.
I got it. It's fine.
Freeze!
Oh, look at... I literally can't do anything.
Enough of this.
That's great. That's Final Fantasy VII, right? So this is my whole thing. Like, this isn't Final Fantasy VII. Just because it looks like... Just because it's visually, aesthetically modeled after the aesthetic of Final Fantasy VII, and just because it's Cloud, and just because it's Midgar, and are fighting Shitter soldiers, it's not Final Fantasy VII. Why couldn't it just be a turn-based RPG?
What he said.
I don't get it. I don't get why it couldn't have just been a turn-based RPG, like, you know, Final Fantasy VII is. Why would you remake, quote-unquote, Final Fantasy VII, but then not have it be Final Fantasy VII? A game is not its visual aesthetic and story. A game is its gameplay. It's a game. It's a video game. The defining characteristic is you playing it and how it is played. So if you're fundamentally changing the way the game is played, then it's not the same game anymore. Oh, you just gotta give me the 2 potions in a fucking chest, because the bodies at the beginning didn't have any potions on them. So, like, just take... It's literally just Final Fantasy XV's gameplay, first of all. Which, like, my biggest problem with Final Fantasy XV was its gameplay. Because I don't get why, all of a sudden, we have to make pretend like Final Fantasy is an action RPG series now. Like, why is it all of a sudden an action RPG? Why is it all of a sudden just Kingdom Hearts?
Is he one of us now? He's got balls, this, what was his name again?
Cloud Strife.
Right.
And he isn't a soldier anymore. Still, he's a professional, unlike the rest of us. I'm glad to have him.
This is a one-time gig. When it's done, we're done.
Like, here is the only passingly...
To look at, too.
Like, that's the only, like, passingly, okay, this has value for me, is,
I'd say you're not even reading the same...
like, the cutscenes, I want to say, necessarily. Not necessarily the cutscenes, but, like, I'm not fucking, I'm not, heartless. I'm not sitting here going, like, look at how fucking nice Cloud looks. I'm not sitting here saying, this isn't, you know, artistry. This isn't effort that went into creating this. And, like, the voice acting and, like, the way it's presented. Obviously, it looks nice. I'm not sitting here going, this looks bad. I'm saying, why do it? But, like, I can appreciate, oh, they had the scene, like, fucking, what's your name? Dead Meat walking over here, not Biggs and Wedge, is going like, oh, good luck, have fun. Like, that was a fun little thing. Like, I can appreciate that. But is that enough? Does that justify everything else? Like, you can just make a movie. You can just release a DVD, and it's like, here's a movie-ified version
But you know what I think?
of Final Fantasy VII. And, like, modern technology and shit. Right? Like, when this game comes out, quote-unquote game, by the way, quote-unquote game, by the way, when this comes out, I will watch the cutscenes on YouTube,
You better be worth
and
the money.
I will be like,
Every
yay!
little deal.
I remember feeling emotions when I played a game on the PS1, and this is evocative of that. Oh, see, look, he's looking up at it. Only, there's no, like... The reason it mattered, the reason it was a big deal when when the camera panned down and Cloud looked up at the reactor, was that was visually impressive for the PlayStation 1. Because it was incorporating pre-rendered backgrounds and character models that were interactive in a way that's like, wow, I've never seen a game do that before. Like, you go from Final Fantasy VI, which looked amazing on the Super Nintendo, and look at this massive jump in technology that now the camera can pan down and show this scenic vista, this beautiful pre-rendered image, and the character we're playing as, the model of Cloud, is still active and displaying this optical illusion, almost like movies. Like, movies are singular frames that are spliced together at 24 frames per second to give the illusion of movement. It was sort of that same thing, where the game was giving this illusion of interactivity, even though what was happening in the game was this 3D model was running around what was essentially a flat plane. What was essentially a flat plane, but because of the pre-rendered background, it made it look like... Because, like, if you took out the pre-rendered background of Final Fantasy VII, it was just, like, a flat surface and walls, right? But the pre-rendered background made it look like your character was interacting with this world. So that moment where he's looking up at the reactor was a great moment because it played into this illusion that the game was presenting. What feeling does this give you when it's done in this game? Because back in 1997, when you were playing that game on the PS1, that is the feeling the game gave you of, wow. What feeling does this give you? What is the emotion that is being evoked from a 3D rendered image looking at a 3D rendered image? There's no... See, that's what I mean. Like, you're just recreating moments, but without the soul. This is so soulless. I remember people always made jokes that, like, they're never gonna remake Final Fantasy VII until, like, they need the money, right? The only reason they would ever remake Final Fantasy VII is because they can't afford to not remake Final Fantasy VII, because it's a guaranteed moneymaker, right?
Get ready. See ya.
That was the joke. The joke was, oh, they'll, like, break glass in case of dire financial straits. So, like, that's why how can you be excited by this, where they're just going like, yeah, let's do the thing everyone joked about for years. I don't understand the reason people want a Final Fantasy VII Remake, to be honest. Like, okay, there's 3 possible audiences for the Final Fantasy VII Remake, right? There's people who've played Final Fantasy VII and loved it. There's people who played Final Fantasy VII and don't give a shit. And people who've never played Final Fantasy VII. The people who played Final Fantasy VII and loved it might... It's that thing where it's like, I understand why you think you want a Final Fantasy VII Remake. Because, oh, I loved that game. I would love to play it again, but new! Right? That's the thought process. I get that. But, like, the original game's still there. It's not like you can't just play the original game. But like I said, like, I get it. I understand the emotion of, oh, look, Cloud looks so good in this graphics. Oh, look, fucking
Not so fast. We've got
Biggs
company.
and Wedge look really cool, and like there could be comedy moments. I understand that, like, reaction. I literally haven't been in this classic mode, right? Here I can find... Yeah, this is what Final Fantasy VII was like, right? This is what it was like playing Final Fantasy VII. This is the classic experience. This is the classic gameplay experience that Final Fantasy VII provided. It's literally just game journalist mode, baby play the game by itself. That's why it's easy mode, because it's just baby play the game for me mode. It's not classic. So, like, I understand, you know, being a fan of Final Fantasy VII and wanting to see it again, but oh look, it looks so much nicer. I get that. But just play the original game. I don't get it. I mean, like, I get it, but I don't get it. Just play the original game. It's so dumb to me. To just, like, what you're saying is you just liked... It's... Like, it's so hard to, like, put it into words, because, like, I understand, but also you're stupid. Like, I feel that emotion, too, to an extent, but, like... It's just superficial. It's completely superficial. And I don't value superficiality. The thing that mattered about Final Fantasy VII is not the superficial traits. Jesse, thank you. The superficial traits were not what made Final Fantasy good. It is just the most... Again, there's no purpose to this in a remake version.
Soldiers may attack on command, but I hear they make good guard dogs too. Bet you've seen a few reactors. So how do we get to the bridge above Mako storage? Ain't holding out on me, are you?
Anime noises.
Damn scared to bite the hand that fed him? Or is he a loyal little doggy? Have it your way, Mutt. We can do this with you, or we can do this without you.
Different reactor, different layout. Depends when it was built. Never seen one like this, but I'll manage.
The other possible group is people who did play Final Fantasy VII, but they're like, oh, this is old, and it looks old and dumb, and it's a turn-based game. Ugh. I don't like turn-based games. I don't want to play it, because it's old and turn-based. To which I would say, like, why do you want to cater to that audience? Like, you really think you're gonna, like, get those people by making it new and non-turn-based? Like, I don't... Like, what? Like, 30 years later. Oh my god. Almost 30 years later, we're gonna finally get the audience that rejected Final Fantasy VII. Like, they didn't reject it at the time. Like, it's just... Who gives a shit? Like, this is clearly, like, the value that this game has is clearly in its... In the fan service, right? It's in the reactions that you're gonna get from people like me, going, oh yeah, it's so cool that Jesse's like, oh, have fun, and oh wow, look how cool and big Cloud's sword is, and see, like, that's cute. Jesse's being just the littlest cutie ever. People who didn't play it aren't going to people who don't like it, people who aren't fans, aren't going to appreciate that. So I don't see why you would... I don't see why you would even acknowledge people who don't like Final Fantasy VII as a potential audience.
Someone who can get us the passcodes. Pity no one else at command will talk to us, but what can you do? And we're good.
Careful in there. I got this place covered.
And then there's people who haven't played Final Fantasy VII, which, again, how is that even a thing that is excusable as an excuse? Like, oh, well, like, I would play Final Fantasy VII, but, like, it's old. Like, that's what I, like, who... Final Fantasy VII is available on literally every single Sony console.
You know Tifa, right? It's not really my business, but are you guys close?
Anime noises.
Tifa and I.
See, like, as a fan of Final Fantasy VII, I can appreciate that you see the materia in the sword. I can appreciate Cloud having the Mako PTSD. I'm not soulless. I can, on a superficial level, I do appreciate it superficially.
These sewer rats appear to call themselves Avalanche, sir.
It's supposed to be all
We
capitalized or
are
whatever.
currently investigating whether they belong to the same group that made the attempt on your life. Rest assured, our
There's a
inquiries
completely
will not
new
take
scene
much
that was just
longer.
made up for this. So okay, whatever.
This pump's sole purpose is to drain the planet dry. While you sleep, while you eat, while you shit, it's here sucking up my...
Oh, it's a modern Capcom game. Let's add a bunch of swear words. Actually, no. Barrett swore like a fucking sailor in the original game, too. Never mind. That's totally stupid. On my part.
The planet bleeds green like you and me bleed red. The hell you think's gonna happen when it's all gone, huh? Answer me! You gonna stand there and pretend you can't hear the planet crying out in pain? I know you can!
You really hear that?
Damn straight I do!
Get help.
Say that again!
See, like, superficially, I can appreciate this. Because I like...
The next 5 seconds.
Because I like Final Fantasy VII. Yeah? But I'll just watch a cutscene compilation on YouTube. There's no value in a video game being made, especially when it's not even Final Fantasy VII. That's what I mean. Like, the only benefit you can get... It's just...
You listening, Merc?
Okay, that's not proper gun safety, so... Okay. Jesus.
Well, so much for having Cloud do all the fighting. There are some places a sword just can't reach.
I mean, I have fire
Kill Nathan
spells.
for me, would you?
Yeah.
It's so multi-layered how much this is stupid. My feelings on how fucking retarded this game is are so multi-layered, I have to, like, try and keep it structured. And, like again, the last audience of, like, oh, they haven't played Final Fantasy VII. Just fucking play Final Fantasy VII! It's on every single fucking console!
Gonna throw your sword at
It's on every single fucking Sony console.
These tin cans ain't got nothing on me.
Wow, nice. I missed it. Awesome. It's on literally every single Sony console. There's no reason you can't just play it. It's on the PS1. It's on. You can just emulate a PS1 version of the game. Just get a fucking emulator.
Do your job first.
Shut up and move over. That was easy.
That was easy. Just emulate a PS1 version. You can, if you have a PS3, you can buy the PS1 Classic version on the PS3. If you have the PS4, they released a version on PS4. If you have a computer, you think your computer can't run Final Fantasy VII, just buy it off Steam. It's on your fucking phone. Just play the original game. I don't accept, oh, it's old, and it looks old, and it's a turn-based game, and I don't like it, as an excuse.
But I'm guessing you've done this kind of...
It's literally just like, there's people who like it, who already like it, and that is really the only valid audience that I acknowledge, because
danger to get the blood pumping.
I understand superficially the appeal of being like, oh, I'm looking at a thing that I recognize. I clapped when I saw it, right? It's the I clapped when I saw it emotion. And I understand that, because I clapped. I clapped when I saw it. I get that. I think it's a valid feeling. It's a valid emotional reaction. When Darth Vader killed all the guys in the ship at the end of Rogue One, I clapped. I clapped when I saw it. I'm looking at this. I clapped. I clapped when I saw it. I get that. So if you just want to make a game to make people clap when they saw it, like, that I kind of get. I understand that. That makes sense to me. But, like, first of all, this seems like really fucking expensive to have made. So I don't know if you're really going to get your return on the investment if you're capitalizing completely on making people who like Final Fantasy VII go, yeah! But, like, let's not even look at it from Square Enix's point of view. Obviously, Square Enix is making this because, SpaghettiOs.
They can wipe out a whole squad in seconds.
Not if you wipe the floor with them first.
Square Enix, Capcom. Square Enix is clearly making the game because, SpaghettiOs, right? That is obvious to everyone involved. I mean, that was well known before they even were like, yeah, we'll make it, right? Just like Final Fantasy VII, am I right? That's just like Final Fantasy. So classic Final Fantasy VII gameplay, am I right? That's just like how it would play. Let's look at it purely from the perspective of being the potential audience.
First. Huh? Soldier first class. Doesn't go into the 20s.
The hell you talking about? I mean your age, not your goddamn rank. Though for all I know, a soldier's rank could be the same as his age. Mm-hmm. Guess that make you a 1-year-old, huh? Live and learn.
So, like, again, that first group of, I play Final Fantasy VII, and I like Final Fantasy VII, so I clapped when I saw it. To me, that's the only valid group that to want a remake, right? I want a remake of Final Fantasy VII because I like Final Fantasy VII and I clapped when I saw it. That has, like, maybe 10% acceptability as far as I'm concerned. Like, that's an understandable human desire. It's stupid, but I understand it. And it's not invalid. It's stupid, but it's not invalid, right? But if you don't like Final Fantasy VII, if you're one of those people who's like, oh, it's overrated, or whatever, then I don't know why you would care.
Let's get down there.
It's not like it's gonna become... It's not like it's going... like, the people who react negatively to the idea of Final Fantasy VII, right? Who go like, oh, it's not that big a deal, oh, it's overrated, blah, blah, blah. It's not like remaking it is going to make it retroactively revolutionary to you. If you don't think Final Fantasy VII was a big deal, remaking it's not going to suddenly make it a big deal for you. And if you haven't played it, and you're going, well, I don't want to play it because it's old. Literally go fuck yourself. They should remake it because I don't want to have to play an old game. Remake it so that it's new and I can play it and it's a new game.
Down the ladder, dummy.
That's stupid. Literally, fuck you. Literally, you're the worst person, and you're the reason the game industry is the way it is, and I hate you. And to a lesser extent, you're the reason that society is the way it is.
Should be easy.
You're the reason that they remade that everything is remakes and fucking reboots and bullshit. Go fuck yourself. Literally, that's not a valid fucking reaction or response or feeling. And it's stupid and I hate you. It's like, what if you're gonna remake Final Fantasy VII, why wouldn't you remake it? Because that's my whole thing. This isn't a remake. This isn't Final Fantasy VII, but new. This is a completely different fucking game. This is Final Fantasy 15, but with a fucking conversion mod to make it look like Final Fantasy VII. The gameplay is not Final Fantasy VII. There's no random battles. There's no turn-based combat. Why can't you just make it... If this game was Final Fantasy VII remade, if this was the Spyro Reignited trilogy, but for Final Fantasy, then I would be excited for it! Because it'd be Final Fantasy VII, but it looked nicer, just like Spyro Reignited is Spyro, but it looks nicer. Like, there's two kind of remakes you can go with, right?
Go on, do the honors.
There's the Spyro Reignited. There's Spyro Reignited remake, which is literally the exact same game. But it's got new graphics, right? They literally basically rotoscoped the entire game, but with new graphics, right? And then there's... Hold on.
What's wrong?
I'm fine. What about the timer?
Your call, Merc. Pretty cocky, ain't you? You double-crossing!
Attack while its tail's up.
Hey, how the hell do we fight this thing?
Attack while its tail's up.
The internals can be overloaded. Lightning magic.
No other option, huh?
What was I just saying? And then there's the second way, which is Resident Evil 2 Remake 2. Because Resident Evil Remake 2 is a completely different game, right? It's called a remake, but it's a brand new game. Like, that's the alternative thing, right? You might say Roman, and I might say, how the fuck do you know my name? You might say, well, you liked Remake 2, didn't you? So, isn't that the same thing? To which I would reply, not really, because the gameplay in Resident Evil Remake 2 is different, but it's still Resident Evil. It's not a completely different genre. It'd be like taking the taking the tank controls and fixed camera angle and kind of updating it for more modern sensibilities is different from just making a completely different fucking game. Like, this isn't the same kind of thing as what Remake 2 was. And honestly, I still had problems with Remake 2. I think it would have been nice if they had had an option for having it be more classic in its sensibilities. Like, Remake 2 really is the fly in the ointment of my argument. I'm not gonna say that that's wrong, but, like, it really comes down to, at least Remake 2 was still a good game. At least Remake 2, it was, you know, different, sure, but it was still a good game when you get right down to it. And it still gave you the same feeling, right? It's this whole thing of, like, you can take what Resident Evil was and change it and still have it essentially be the same type of game. It's still a survival horror. It didn't completely change the genre.
Tail laser. I see it. Then take cover already.
It didn't completely change the genre of the fucking game completely. And that's the difference. Final Fantasy VII was a turn-based RPG. This is not a turn-based RPG. Resident Evil 2 was a survival horror game. Resident Evil 2 Remake was a survival horror game. That's the difference. And if you don't see that difference, then I don't know what else to tell you, you know? This is not the same type of game that Final Fantasy VII was. And going, oh well, turn-based is worse and dumb and I don't want to have to play a turn-based game, is not a valid fucking response to that. Final Fantasy VII is a celebrated milestone of gaming that is beloved. You don't get to go like, yeah, but if the gameplay was different, it'd be better. That's part of what made the game what it is. If you change the gameplay, then it's not the same game. This isn't a Final Fantasy VII remake. You have not remade Final Fantasy VII, you have made a completely new, different game, and you're calling it Final Fantasy VII. And I reject that. That is stupid to me. If you're gonna remake Final Fantasy VII, at least fucking remake Final Fantasy VII. Don't make Final Fantasy 15, but it looks like Final Fantasy VII. That's dumb. And I don't... And like, people are like, oh, well, what were you expecting? Don't remake it! You're acting like Final Fantasy VII being remade is an inevitability. Is like, well, that's what's gonna happen, so what were you expecting? Or like, oh, well, you want a remake of Final Fantasy VII, but what were you expecting? First of all, I was expecting them to leave well enough alone and just not remake it. First of all. Second of all, what was I expecting? Oh, well, gee, I was expecting a remake of Final Fantasy VII. I was expecting Final Fantasy VII, but remade. What kind of bullshit is this? Or like, oh, it's Tetsuo Nomura. What were you expecting? Then have someone else make it. What psychotic fucking conclusion is that? Oh, well, it's Tetsuo Nomura. What were you expecting? Well, don't make it then. Why the fuck do I have to settle for a compromised version of a remake of Final Fantasy VII? If I'm sitting here going, oh, I really want them to remake Final Fantasy VII, which I'm not, but if I was sitting here going, oh, I really want a remake of Final Fantasy VII, why would I have to settle for a compromised version of that? If I'm sitting here going, gee, I sure want a remake of Final Fantasy VII, why would I not also go, and I want it to be the ideal version of a remake of Final Fantasy VII? Why would I accept a compromised version of that? That doesn't make any fucking sense. That's fucking insane.
My hero.
Why couldn't it be turn-based? Why couldn't it be, you know, Final Fantasy VII, where you run around and random battles get triggered, and you go into a turn-based RPG? Why is that unreasonable? Why can't... Oh, fuck you. Why can't I not accept this because it isn't that? What kind of fucking response is, oh, well, they couldn't do that? Why the fuck not? It's Final Fantasy VII. The reason you're remaking it is because people like Final Fantasy VII, right? Well, I got news for you. Final Fantasy VII was a turn-based RPG. Why would you remake Final Fantasy VII but not make it the same type of gameplay? That's so fucking stupid and weird to me. It's just dumb. The whole thing is dumb. Fuck this game. It shouldn't exist. You don't need to remake Final Fantasy VII, first of all. This is unnecessary. There's no purpose in this existing. There's no merit to this being a thing that is made by humanity. Other than Square Enix needs help. Desperately needs help.
Cool it. 5 seconds is all we need.
And the superficial reaction of, oh, gee, it looks so nice. And yes, it does. But I don't see why it couldn't look nice and also be a turn-based RPG and be an actual fucking remake of Final Fantasy VII. I don't see why why I have to compromise and sit here and go, oh, well, sure, it's a turn-based action RPG, and that's not Final Fantasy VII, but at least it looks nice. Why can't I have both?
Sure you could.
Like, let's assume I'm okay with a remake being made, which I'm not, but let's assume, okay, yeah, remake Final Fantasy VII, yay. Why do I have to accept it being a completely new, different game that isn't Final Fantasy VII? I don't understand why I have to accept that. And, like, there are so many reasons why I don't want a remake of Final Fantasy VII. First of all, it's unnecessary. Just play the original game. Second of all, a remake is, by its very nature, not going to have the same experience that the original game had. They're gonna add a bunch of shit and take away a bunch of shit. And it's going to piss someone off. Like, you just know they're not gonna have the moment in, fucking Desola, after the ship, Alfina del Sol, whatever it was called, where Hojo is on the beach being surrounded by babes in bikinis. There were worries early on where people were like, are they not going to have the cross-dressing moment, for crying out loud? Like, imagine they didn't have the cross-dressing sequence, which apparently they are going to have that, but imagine, like, I'm supposed to just be okay with a quote-unquote remake of Final Fantasy VII that doesn't have the cross-dressing sequence? Like, why do I have to accept that? I'm not okay with that. Just don't do it then. If you're not gonna do it right, then don't do it. It's just, it's so stupid, and I hate it. I don't like it, and I hate it, and it's stupid. Like, it's so hard to articulate because it's just emotions. Like, I have feelings, and the feelings are angry, and why? It's not Final Fantasy VII. It doesn't play like Final Fantasy VII. But even if it was a turn-based, even if it was a an actual remake of Final Fantasy VII, a turn-based RPG, which is what a turn-based Japanese role-playing game, which is what Final Fantasy VII was, and you cannot argue that this is not that. This is unequivocally not a turn-based Japanese RPG. You cannot argue that this is that, because it's not. So fuck you. So, like, first of all, it's not Final Fantasy VII Remake. But, number two, even if it was, let's say it was a faithful remake of Final Fantasy VII, it's still gonna be compromised. It's gonna be an episodically released game. When the game finally comes out, it's gonna be disc 1, you know? So it's not even gonna be the full game. So you're gonna be charged $60 in 3 increments. $60 for disc 1, $60 for disc 2, and $60 for disc 3. That's disgusting and horrible and not the same experience as what Final Fantasy VII was. And even then, they're not going to have everything that Final Fantasy VII had in it in the game. You know for a fact they're going to cut out a bunch of shit. You know for a fact they're not going to have all the stuff that Final Fantasy VII had in it in the remake.
I'll take that as a yes.
It's not going to have Hojo being surrounded by the chicks in bikinis. We weren't even sure it would have the fucking cross-dressing sequence.
Okay, that was pretty cool. All right,
And that moment, that I appreciate, I clapped when I saw it, that moment to me does not excuse the rest of it, right? I could watch a cutscene compilation on fucking YouTube and get the exact same emotional reaction. There's no reason Square fucking Enix, of all people, couldn't just release a video series that is this, the cutscenes, and have it be the same thing, right? It's... There's no part of it that isn't infuriating and stupid and unnecessary. And worse. It's worse. This does not benefit the world by existing. There's no purpose to it. Final Fantasy VII benefited the industry in its existence, in what it contributed, in what a milestone it was. What is this? What does this accomplish? What does this bring to the industry? It's just another remake to capitalize on nostalgia pandering. It's just another, like, oh, people who grew up with it are 20, 30 years old and have disposable income now. Let's mine that fucking demographic. there's no reason this Number one, this isn't a Final Fantasy VII remake. Number two, there's no reason you have to remake Final Fantasy. So first of all, this has no value in existing. Second of all, they're not even doing it right. Fuck you. Final Fantasy VII exists. You can just play it. It's right here. Just play the original game. Why would you spend $180 on an inferior version that is not even the same gameplay as this, which you can buy for like $20-$30 and experience the exact same game, the game that was a sacred cow. It is and was a game that people remember fondly for valid reasons. You don't get to say, oh, but it aged poorly as an excuse. Video games don't age. Art doesn't age. It is the same now as it was when it came out. The game didn't deteriorate. It's not like there's a half-life and it's gonna decompose. The game that existed in 1997 when it first released is the exact same game that you can... That looks better to me. The game that released in 1997 is the exact same game. It's not like it changed. It's not like it became worse. It's the same game. Just fucking play it. Just play Final Fantasy VII. Games do not age. Art is immortal. We change. The culture around the game changes. The world changes. But the game is still the same game. So I don't accept that as an excuse. The game has not aged. Oh, it's old though. Fucking, that's insane. You can't watch a movie because it's in black and white? You can't listen to a symphony because it's using a fucking cello and a cello was invented in the 1700s or whenever? The piano's the oldest fucking instrument known to mankind. That's probably not true. You can't listen to music if it includes a piano, because pianos as an instrument haven't aged. Oh, I can't listen to Beethoven's Ninth Symphony. That's aged poorly. I need to hear the dubstep remix version of Beethoven's Ninth Symphony. That's insane. You're insane. I can't watch the original Psycho. It's in black and white. Black and white has aged poorly. I'm gonna watch the remake with Vince Vaughn. That is insane to me. Just play Final Fantasy VII. It's still what it is. It's not like it became worse. And if you can't put yourself in the mind frame of someone in 1997 playing it on a PS1 and going, holy fucking shit, then I feel sorry for you, I guess, because you clearly don't have a capacity for empathy. It's insane. I don't get it. I'm gonna make a point here. I look at this. You see what I mean? How they didn't do it right? Do you see the difference in how the demo did it compared to this? I'm gonna play them back to back. Hold on. But this, you're looking at the stars, right? Oh, you're looking at the starlit sky. And then it fades seamlessly and transitions into the glow of the Mako in front of Eris. and Eris is looking at the Mako. I don't care that it's old. This still looks amazing. And if you can't... If you're sitting here going like, oh, it looks old. It's dumb and bad because it looks old. I can't... How do you function? I don't get that. I don't get that mentality. I don't relate to it. It looks this looks better to me. The artistry, the cinematography, the pacing. It's... Do you see what I mean? How, like, it took so much longer to get to the same fucking place? Because the remake was so busy jerking off over Eris dropping the fucking flower? This looks better to me. It's just so much faster, just like boom, you're in it. You're in the action. You pick up the fucking potion. You get into the turn-based combat, and it's a... This is better! And I don't get the mentality that, like, well, the new version is, oh, look, it's turn-based, and it's old, and it looks old, and I don't like turn-based combat, so I don't like it. Compare and contrast. Compare and contrast this, which clearly missed the fucking point. We're supposed to be looking at the stars, for one thing, and then, like, before you can even realize what that's supposed to mean, all of a sudden we're looking at Eris, and the camera angle's completely fucking different. It should have started right from this moment, and it makes no fucking sense where the camera even was. And she's just looking at a pipe for some fucking reason for 5 minutes. Jesus Christ. And, like, what is this? Like, in the original, it looked like she was kind of going like, oh, it's cold or whatever. And we linger on this alley view for no fucking reason. Hello? Cut? Yes? And then it's got this weird... What is the purpose of this? Oh, she stepped on the flower. Oh. What? We were already at the title sequence by this point in the original. This is worse. This is actively worse. I don't care that the graphics look debatably better. Because it's new. It's newer. It looks new. And it has higher fucking textures and polygon counts. So it's better. Fuck you. Why is it taking so long? You can't even play them side by side because it's just... the pacing is completely different. The music's not as good. Oh, it's orchestrated. Like, you literally just saw how it was in the original. And now you're comparing it one-to-one with the remake. It is worse. It looks nicer. Oh, it looks worse. It's paced horrifically. Dragging its feet. I don't know what, like, the camera dude is just fucking having a seizure. He's swinging all over the fucking place. Just such fan service. Just pointless fan service of, oh, look, he jumped and he did the pose.
Halt! Who goes there? You're up.
Why did they ignore Barrett running by? That makes no sense.
You're coming with us.
And now just like, oh, it's not turn-based, everybody. That's what we want. This is what games are now. It's an action RPG where you can Dark Souls dodge roll with the circle button. I'm dodge rolling with the circle button. I'm pressing the square button. Swing the sword like Kingdom Hearts. It's worse. It's worse. It's unnecessary. It adds nothing. Just play the original fucking game. Fuck this remake. Fuck you if you're excited for the remake. Just fuck you if you haven't if you want to play this and the original's right there. Just play the original. Fuck. You know, hold on. Yeah, here it is. Is this it? When you think about it, this truly was the Final Fantasy XIII. Fuck this game. This quote-unquote game. This part 1, by the way. That's basically fucking false marketing also, number 1. Number 2.